When I looked back, and even in my college years, I can't remember a time that I wasn't concerned about women's issues, whether it was in politics or whatever, and social justice or rights. And I started thinking, I think I may have been born with a feminine gene, in the good sense of the word. And since I retired, I became social justice coordinator a little over 10 years ago. I have been able to devote full time to these types of ministries. And certainly my work with Erie Dawn has been rewarding. And the wonderful thing about Erie Dawn, for those who don't know about it, it's the acronym stands for Dwelling and Advocacy for Women in Need. And it takes homeless women with or without children into a 2-year mentoring program and puts them back on their feet, helps them with housing, budgeting, and the like. And when you see the success statistics of that agency, some women going from being homeless to homeowners, it's remarkable. There's another aspect of getting satisfaction out of what you're doing, and that has to do with being with issues that you don't see the results. And I can remember, I think it was Carol Pella, we were at down outside Tom Ridge's office on an anniversary against the death penalty. And she said to me, how does it feel like, you don't see any results? I said, Susan B. Anthony didn't get the right to vote. The importance is to stick it out and be patient and do what you can do and not always expect to see the results of your labors. My Jewish professor, when I was in graduate school, said to me once, it was during the Vietnam War, and he knew where I stood and so on. He said, when he sees this people out in vigils or whatever, he said, you Christians have a word for it. It's bearing witness. So to bear witness is what's important. I'd start out first with my mother. She had a sense of justice that just permeated all that we did. And as I mentioned previously, I had 5 brothers and 1 sister. And she had them doing the chores that we had to do, And so from the very beginning, I didn't see a big difference between what the boys had to do or we had to do. And the other thing that she instilled in me, and it was a time, it was during Depression years, we grew up in the First World War, she had a very great dedication to education. And she kept saying, if I had the money, I'd send each of you away, to get your wings, so to speak. But that wasn't to be. But my brothers got the GI Bill, and fortunately, when I graduated from Academy High School, somebody put my name in for a scholarship to Villa Maria College, and it changed my world. The other thing is my religious community. And in terms of what women can do, we just are celebrating our 150th year in the Erie Diocese. And I didn't have to look around to see what women could do. They ran St. Vincent Hospital, St. Joseph's Home, Villa Maria Academy is over 100 and some years old. So I saw competent women. And so I would say that most of the lessons I learned were not maybe verbal, but by example. Frequently what I found with my students, especially the ones in nursing, they made a decision to go in nursing when they were in grade school or something, and they saw something before they had the opportunity to understand their gifts and the demands of the profession they were in. And so after a while, when I felt, convinced in my own judgment, when I did think that it wasn't the place for a student, working with them to find out where their gifts were that matched their desires. And I can remember one student coming in at the college, and I said, well, we're making progress, we're down to 1 Kleenex. But anyway, she ended up as the best elementary science teacher you wanted to meet. And so it's telling them to find out where their gifts are and what they can do with them, and being honest about it. Don't undersell them, use them as best you can. My greatest passion, at least locally, is for a community college. I would do anything. And I think it's both a moral and economic imperative that Northwestern Pennsylvania have a community college. It's long overdue, and the education and empowerment of women is, for me, the answer. If we're going to affect change in public policy and make it possible for women to have maternity leave, whatever things they need to develop to their fullest, we have to get women into the political system. I think gifts are given to be shared, and the only way we're going to be able to do that is to make it possible, because doors are closed. I see this with Erie Dawn. It is the most gratifying thing to see that if you give women the tools, they can raise themselves up.